Just like we graphed the sine function, the cosine function, we're going to start the same way, just by thinking about the unit circle. So if the unit circle has the coordinates 1, 0, 0, 1, negative 1, 0, and 0, negative 1, cosine is looking at the x values. So as we move around, whether you're in radian or degree mode, whether you move around, you're looking at the x values. So I'm going to put this in radians, so I'm going to have 0. So the cosine of 0 is the x value at 0, which is 1. The cosine of pi over 2, that's 90 degrees, the x value is 0. The cosine at pi is going to be negative 1. The cosine of 3 pi over 2, started writing cosine, is going to be 0. And the cosine of 2 pi is going to be 1. And it's going to start repeating itself. This is going to be 5 pi over 2. It's 2.5 pi. That's going to be 0. And then 3 pi is going to be negative 1. So you can kind of see the pattern that's going. 1, 0, negative 1, 0, 1, 0, negative 1, 0. It's going to keep going like that. So when you're graphing a cosine function, it comes to the form a cosine of b theta. A is not equal to 0 because that would mean that the function is just going to be a horizontal line. And b is positive, and theta is in radians. So the absolute value of a is the amplitude, just like it was on the sine function. It will also determine whether the function has been reflected across the x-axis. B is the number of cycles in the interval from 0 to 2 pi, and the period of the function is period equals 2 pi over b, just like the sine function. So using over here what we just graphed, or what I just put in my table, I can make a graph of the cosine function. So it's going to go start at, cosine of 0 is 1, so it's going to go 0, or max, 0, min, 0, max, 0, min. So the sine started at 0 and the cosine started at 1, and that all has to do with the unit circle. You can carry it on left too. So just like the sine function, for each of these we can find the amplitude and the b and the period. So the amplitude of this is going to be going up by 2, so it looks like we're going up 5, down 5. So the height of the wave is 10, so the amplitude's 5. And then the period, I'm going to look from here to here, and that is 2 pi. You could also go from here to here, and that's 2 pi. So if period equals 2 pi over b, your period equals 2 pi over b, so b is 1. And has it been reflected? So in a cosine function, you would start at, a positive cosine function would start at the maximum value. Here it's starting at the minimum value. It's starting down. Okay? So this is going to be a negative. So yes, it's been reflected. So your equation is going to be y equals negative 5 cosine of 1x, or just x. Okay, the second one, the amplitude is 4. The period is going from here to here, so it's pi. My b value is found by doing period equals 2 pi over b. So if the period is pi, pi equals 2 pi over b, b must be equal to 2. Has this one been reflected? Well, it's starting at the max. See, the other one over here started at the min. So this one starts up, so it has not been reflected. So no. And what's my equation? It's going to be y equals 4 cosine of 2x. Okay, the third one, amplitude, going up 3, down 3, 3. The period going from here to here is pi over 2. So what is our b? So remember we have to do period equals 2 pi over b, and we know the period is pi over 2. So the b has to be 4. So has it been reflected? No, because again, it started at the max. So it's going max, 0, min, 0, max. And your equation is going to be y equals 3 cosine of 4x.